Dean. How are you doing here today?
Very good, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So Dean, payments are so localized. They're global, but every local industry has its own way to pay. And I'm really excited to kind of get your insights on some of the new ones that we should be aware of on the way.
Sure. I mean, if I just keep it close to home for at the moment, we've got faster payments been around for plus 10 years now. There's some innovation coming there with some modernization. Take the rails to the new data set, which is the ISO 20022 standard. While that's been going on and being looked at to how's that going to work, the country's also been looking at how to put in request to pay. I'll mention two more markets if I may.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, India decided, as part of their digital transformation policy in India, to actually define to get to a point where they say, we're no longer going to rely on a card or cash, very much cash because of the rural aspects. But everybody's got a mobile, so we want people to use mobile phones to pay each other. So they put in place a brand new scheme called UPI, which it uses the request for pay, they call it collect. Uses the request to pay, plus some push payment capabilities as well, where everybody's sending and receiving money from each other using their mobile phones, and that has seen enormous growth, and so it's accelerating to the point where it's overtaken cards. Wow. Now that had some element of mandate to it, so that's why I've seen such growth, but the consumer base there expect it, demand it, and like it. And we've seen players like Google play a role there, Amazon recently play a role, so we've seen some fairly innovative sort of big tech players in there as well. Now, if I zoom across to Brazil, a few years later, Brazil launched something, a year and a half ago or so, called Pix. And so Pix has seen the highest growth rate of any payment scheme we've ever seen in consumer payments. Now, it's still not up there with, say, some of the card scheme rails, but it's only been in existence, 18 months thereabouts, okay? But they're seeing more transactions per person per month than any other card or payment rail right now. And that's the same sort of thing where you're using a QR code, and so there's been a removal of cost from the ecosystem, which has driven merchants to want to offer it more, and consumers like the new look and feel of using their mobile phone to make a payment. There's no plastic, there's no card, and so we're seeing a lot of that.
I mean, it's absolutely brilliant hearing how around the world, everyone's looking at payments in different ways, but to get to the same place. Yeah. And that's ultimately to improve the customer experience of a payment. It's no longer just, I want the smallest fee, it's the experience. Now, what are some of the other customer demands that you're seeing around payments that are maybe driving some of these changes?
So, I mean, if I just go back to basics right now, basics of strategy that we're seeing quite a lot of with some of our retail banking customers. Around the world, not every market, but quite a lot of markets, we're seeing a pressure to either reduce interchange, like we saw in Europe, or opening access to the account so that third parties can come in without a fee being charged. So the retail banks, used to have most of their revenues coming from that revenue stream. So we're seeing that being squashed. That's coming down. So what that's doing at the bank is it's saying, well, what do I do next? But at the same time, we're seeing innovation increase in the industry. So we're seeing more players come to market with their private equity backing. So we're seeing more innovation in the marketplace. So if you're a bank, if you're a traditional retail bank, you're thinking, well, actually, I still do make money from cards, credit especially, prepaid a bit, maybe debit less so. But we're seeing these revenue streams kind of being under pressure. But we're also seeing then a move to things like crypto or leveraging loyalty access, or just like I mentioned, the UPI and Pix direct to the account. And so a consumer bank is increasingly having to think, well, how do I support all of these against a backdrop of increased pressure on my revenues? So obviously the cost base is under pressure. So we're seeing a bit of a, how do we consolidate what may have once been a core bank, maybe a credit system, maybe a prepaid system, a debit system, maybe a loyalty system over here, maybe another system over here. Lots of these different systems, different vendors, different vendors, different home build, bit of a patchwork quilt. How can we get it to a point where we can innovate there, step things up, actually bring in some return on investment to continue investing to create a new platform that allows us to compete and lowers the cost?
See, that's absolutely fascinating because for a lot of the traditional banks, even on the retail side, seeing that kind of volume of payment change, the value of the payment change, and as you said, that diminishing returns from the payment side, it presents some serious challenges to continue to innovate in that side. So how would you solve that issue for the retail banks? Because that's not an easy thing to change.
I would say there's two things that I've seen there. There's the operational efficiency, but there's also the increase of opportunity around revenue stream. So if I go revenue stream first, I typically something I find quite enjoyable to think about. We're seeing how do we offer new capabilities, because for a bank, you either need to attract new customers or retain the customers you got. So it's about offering a service to that customer where they'll want to keep coming back for more because they like what they're getting, and maybe they'll then take on a loan or maybe another capability, another product offering from the bank, which makes them a more of a richer source of revenue opportunity and a deeper relationship with the bank. But if you're a bank simply offering that, probably not a money spinner, but you're retaining that customer and it's increasing their likelihood of transacting, because every time they transact you make some money back, which is justifying the investment, so you can keep growing that out. On the other side, we've got the cost efficiency and operational efficiency. And I think one of the, you would have to be living under a rock in our industry if you haven't heard of cloud and SaaS and open API, okay? And I mean, without going through the jargon buzz terms right there, there is a genuine business application which is real there. And I think certainly the CIO, the heads of business who are funding these operations, they're looking for new ways to actually, how can I establish myself so that I'm focusing on what my offer to the market is, and not the cost and management of the change to support that. So they're looking for, as they modernize their platforms, increasingly we're seeing this, well, how can I actually just attach myself to a third-party provider who's hosting and managing and keeping the lights on for me, and I'm integrating with an API. And so we're seeing that kind of move to SaaS, that move to cloud, as being very important to the banks. Different banks are moving at different speeds. It's obviously quite a big, massive industry change for them to move that way, but we're certainly seeing quite a lot of demand picking up in that space, and that's where you get your operational efficiencies, and that's where your technology providers can kind of manage that on behalf of the customer and still give the customer the control they need so they can innovate and compete in the market with those new revenue streams.
Incredible. So, I mean, ultimately, the major challenge for all banks is risk management. How do you alleviate that future customer that you're keeping hold of by the payments, just offering seamless payments, while also creating those new products? And how is ACI right in the heart of that in enabling those payments across different borders at real time?
I think that's a crucial question. I mean, we've been in business, coming up 50 years, and we are at the heart of a lot of banks, so we've got some very strong heritage technology which still runs, never failed today. But we've also been in the last sort of 15 years and 5 years, we've been bringing in more technology, newer technology, more new age technology, SaaS enabled, digital native. So the banks have having the same sort of challenges. They've got technology that's running in the bank system. It's been running there for 50 years, some of it 60 years, and it's keeping the lights on, but it's increasingly costly. So the budget to maintain and comply with regulation and the change that you need to do and keeping the lights on, they need to keep that maintained. So then you're bringing in the new capabilities. And this is where I mentioned before about the need to consolidate and modernize. So if you're bringing in new capabilities and you've got your old, it's a challenge then you have to run them in parallel. So you need systems that can talk to each other. So you need technology or vendors or whoever you're working with, be it consultants or your own internal engineering team, who are used to kind of being able to talk between those two systems. So that integration piece is really vital nowadays, because we're going to be seeing for the next 3 to 10 years, depending on the bank, we're going to be seeing parallel running, and they obviously need to protect the core, because that's the cash cow. That's going to keep bringing the money in. That's going to keep investing, so we can invest over here on the new age technologies, which will ultimately replace the old. But it's a multi-year program, so it's a very tight, rigid sort of control. If you're a typical retail bank, like I say, you've got your core, you might have a credit card platform or a credit card provider. So it's going to be looking at those two cores first. How do we innovate those? How do we modernize, say, the credit one first? And if we modernize credit, can I actually have a new platform which allows me to put my debit portfolio in there? Maybe I'm going to issue cards from there. Maybe actually I've got the connections then to all the new schemes, all the new card schemes, all the new instant payment schemes, for example, request to pay schemes. How do you enable it so that actually I can connect in all these new digital players, all these value-added service partners that I'm trialing and I'm putting through my R&D and I'm putting through my think tank? How can I get that all so I can check that it works? And will that still integrate back to my core without causing any problems? And so I think that modern stack needs to be able to support the end-to-end piece as well, but it's about putting in the jigsaw in a way that allows the bank to move there over a number of years, typically, without making this old core cause a problem, because you need to keep the lights on. It's a tricky challenge.